You know that silence can scream louder than words. Don't underestimate it. If there were genuine regret, things would be different. If there were a real desire for communication, you wouldn't be here, seeking answers. If there were truth, the void wouldn't exist. Look at the situation. Him. Sums up, goes silent, avoids, doesn't explain. And you. Waits, analyzes, questions, wastes time. What seems complex is actually simple. The pattern is clear. His silence is not a mystery. It's a choice. You call it a moment of reflection because facing it as indifference requires courage. You wait for a sign, but what you receive is just an echo. The bond remains because you sustain it. Not because it's strong, but because you don't break it. He doesn't need to justify his silence. You, however, continue searching to understand what doesn't need to be understood. When someone cares, they manifest. When someone is regretful, they act. When someone truly misses, they communicate. The rest is mere noise. If you need to decipher the silence, it has already said everything it needed to, and that excludes you. You are not trapped by him. You are paralyzed by uncertainty, and that paralysis is your choice. The stark truth is this: nothing will change without action. The silence you face is a reflection of his lack of commitment. As long as you remain available to this inertia, the dynamic remains unaltered. For him, decide if you want to continue accepting this cost. Regret can be an illusion. There is no comfort in waiting. There is only the moment when you decide to act, and that moment doesn't come on its own. You find yourself repeatedly analyzing each message, each omission. Hope turns into a vicious cycle. You wait for something that doesn't come. Days pass, and the echo of silence becomes part of your routine. What should be a connection turns into an endless interrogation. He ignores, avoids, decides not to respond. And you persist, try to understand, question yourself. The pattern is repetitive and exhausting. This dance of absences and appearances only reinforces your uncertainty. How often do you find yourself waiting for something that never arrives? This is not love, it's emotional wear and tear. You try to rationalize the space between you two. Maybe he's busy. He might be going through problems. These thoughts are crutches that support your waiting, but deep down, you already know. What really matters is the action. He doesn't act because he doesn't care. After all, the absence of choice is also a choice. Every time you justify, you distance yourself. Every attempt to understand the incomprehensible pushes you further out. Time does not heal here. It only gives space for the void to expand. How much longer are you willing to waste in this limbo? Realize that this dynamic can be maintained indefinitely, depending on your acceptance. The bond only exists as long as you sustain it. If you were a priority, there would be no room for doubts. This is the raw truth. You should not seek explanations where they do not exist. Silence is not a mystery, it is a clear message. And that message is about indifference. What you believe to be a phase could very well be a deliberate choice on his part. While you keep this door open, you create a pathway for manipulation. He doesn't need to say anything, his silence already expresses everything. He benefits from your expectation and your availability. You call it hope, but don't be mistaken. It is simply you setting yourself up for failure, day after day. Every empty interaction feeds this narrative. The words continue not to come out. Silence becomes a commonplace, a habitual space, and you start to inhabit this space. Ask yourself, why choose to remain where you are not wanted? Why accept this emotional cost? You are paralyzed, but inertia is not a prison, it is a choice. Every moment you choose to stay on the sidelines, you decide to partake in this destructive cycle. For every omission on his part, you dig deeper into the illusion that something can change. The regret he mentions may just be an empty phrase, much like his silences. Meanwhile, you continue to feed on unrealistic hopes. Yes, maybe he has some internal conflict, but that does not change your reality. You cannot be a hostage to what he feels. The responsibility for your happiness is solely yours. Life does not wait. It is relentless. Ignore this reality, and days will turn into months, and months into years. You might even feel that it's just a matter of time before he recognizes your worth. But the truth is, even if that happens, the value you attribute to yourself should not depend on another person's validation. Think about the moments when you were well, without the shadow of this relationship. Think about the times when you felt complete, without waiting for messages or signs that do not always come. That is your essence. That is your freedom. Negative cycles keep you trapped. They are not what you deserve. You have the ability to construct new narratives. Take this chance now while you still have control. There is no growth in pain. Growth requires decision. At some point, the truth will become unbearable. The weight of denial becomes a much bigger burden than that of acceptance. The fear of letting go of something that was not real may be the very anchor that keeps you from floating. Stop giving power to what does not serve you. Turn the page. The vision you have of the future does not need to be shaped by someone who does not care. Make your story worth it. Write it with your own hands. The moment to act is not a marked date. It doesn't come by itself. You determine when you are ready for it. When the decision to move forward becomes stronger than the need to stay, you will finally realize what it means to be free. The reality has already been presented. What you don't realize is that the waiting goes beyond the emptiness. It seeps into your identity, shapes your expectations, distorts your essence. With each passing second, the echo becomes more deafening, and the silence of the other person turns into a scream you cannot ignore. You see yourself day after day, building castles of hope on quicksand. With each unsent message, each unmade call, a part of you consumes itself. You inhabit yourself like a ghost in your own memories. Questions without answers accumulate on the walls of your being. What did I do wrong? Why doesn't he care? These questions become a mantra, an agonizing repetition that only reinforces the cycle. The other person continues their life while you sink into uncertainties. What seems like love remains only in the realm of ideas. A love that doesn't reveal itself, that doesn't manifest. Just a shadow you try to embrace, but that fades with each attempt. The pattern is unsustainable. He takes steps forward, travels, laughs, new relationships. And you are stuck in this emotional labyrinth going in circles. To him, you become a support, a safety net while he walks into new adventures. His choices don't need your permission, and that's exactly the point. You wonder if love still exists when nothing changes. Is this the love you were taught? A love that doesn't respond, that doesn't fight, and that doesn't reveal itself? There is nothing romantic about staying where there is no reciprocity. Love is action. Making it happen is choosing to be actively present. Being at the mercy of someone who doesn't take a stand is giving up who you are. This dependency you feel is not love, it is annulment. And with each passing day, the frustration accumulates like a storm about to explode. You tolerate the other person's absence. But until when? The truth is, you have gotten used to the idea that this situation is normal. You adjust, you adapt, and the more time passes, the harder it becomes to see the way out. What should be a vibrant love turns into an endless weight. The fear of losing becomes greater than the desire to live. It's time to open your eyes. Reality is cruel but also liberating. You don't need this emotional prison. You don't need this cycle that leads nowhere. Each word left unspoken is a reminder that you deserve more. You deserve respect, which consists in presence and genuine exchanges. The bond persists only because you keep the flame alive. Without you, it extinguishes. The power resides in your hands. Deciding to no longer accept this dynamic is an act of courage. It's facing the raw and unvarnished truth. The other person does not value what you offer. Each empty interaction turns into a burden you carry. The guilt, the doubts, the unfulfilled promises, each one of them weighs on your shoulders. Stop carrying the burden that isn't yours. Free yourself from this load. What you feel is no less valid, but what you do with these feelings is a choice only you can make. He will miss you has become an empty mantra, and if you decide to no longer be available, what happens then? His absence may not be a cry of longing, but an echo of indifference. Don't deceive yourself. You are not the only constant in your life. Your worth should not be defined by the perception of someone who does not give you importance. Look around. There is a vast world full of possibilities waiting for you. People who are genuinely interested, connections that can nourish and enrich your life. Don't lock yourself into the idea that this relationship is everything. It is not. The future is not a monologue. It is a potential dialogue with so many other voices. And now, as you read these words, the decision begins to form. Are you ready to break with the past? To lift your gaze and see the light that shines beyond the darkness you have faced for so long? You have the ability to transform your life. Change will not come from outside, it begins within you. When self-confidence replaces the need for validation from others, you experience true freedom. One day you will look back and realize that what you considered love was not love. It was a prison, and the key was always in your hands. Choose to use it now. Break the cycle. Choose yourself. Reality has already been presented. You see yourself in the midst of the storm, but the lightning does not come from the sky. It is generated within you in the form of doubts, fears, and insecurities that accumulate each day. The feeling of being trapped is suffocating. You know something is wrong, but the idea of breaking from the usual brings a chill to your spine. And as you watch the dark clouds, a thought arises. What if the pain of change is greater than the pain of staying the same? This belief keeps you tied to a distorted reality. The fear of losing someone who was never really there turns into a mental prison. You wonder if this lack of presence is love. But the answer is more bitter than any truth you've ever had the courage to confront. When was the last time someone truly saw you? Someone who didn't just look at you but saw your nuances, your internal battles. No. What you have is a reflection of an absence that has become a shadow in your life, and you continue to get lost in this echo of silence, like a hologram waiting for meaning where there is none. He ignores, forgets, chooses not to see, and you twist, seek to understand, get lost in the labyrinth of need. What could blossom into love transforms into a dance of indifference, a painful reflection on what it means to be truly present. You notice that time is passing, but your life remains stagnant. There is a part of you that resists this truth, a more optimistic feature that insists on believing that everything will change. However, this optimism is a veil that covers reality. Broken promises become the norm, and you find yourself trying to justify the unjustifiable. What should be light becomes a burden. Memories become a mix of nostalgia and sadness. You remember the beginning, the moments shared that now seem so distant. But these fragments of happiness cannot sustain a life. This cycle of absence and presence creates a cascading effect. Every moment you choose to stay becomes another blow to your self-esteem, and with each new interaction, even if empty, your soul cries out for freedom. Why do you still cling to what does not serve you? The recognition that you do not need this is an act of internal revolution. Resistance to the new is understandable. The unknown brings a certain fear. But you must keep in mind that for every door that closes, another one opens. And this new opportunity may be exactly what you need to regain control. The desire to connect with someone who values your essence is legitimate. However, this search should not be a race towards a destination that has already proven treacherous. You are not in a battlefield seeking approval. You are in your own home, and the first battle is with yourself. Look inside. What do you find there? The image of this self may be covered in dust, but the light still shines. Each experience, every lesson you have learned, is part of who you are. And that person does not need to live up to someone else's expectations. You are worth more than just an echo of someone who doesn't care. If you stop to observe, you will notice there are faces around you, people who could be a fertile harvest, but you refuse to plant new seeds out of fear of failure. What is needed now is the courage to open your heart again. Emotional experiences should not be seen as a burden, but rather as trampolines that propel you towards a more vibrant future. Every relationship that did not work out was a preparation so that you could finally recognize what you deserve. Now, visualize your life without this emotional dependence, without the expectation of messages that never come, without the weight of uncertainty. What would you choose to do? What dreams have been dormant for so long? Life does not wait for you. Your story is still being written. Start writing the pages where you are the protagonist. Silence is no longer a prison. It becomes a sacred space for self-discovery. The echo of the past transforms into an incentive to create a new path. All the emotional wear and tear experienced over this time can be fuel that will ignite your transformation. Each scar is a mark of wisdom, proof that you have faced challenges, and now it's time to use that wisdom for yourself. Unspoken words can be a release. There is no longer a need to wait for answers that will never come. The power of choice is in your hands. Break away from what doesn't serve you. Find new horizons and embrace the opportunities that arise. Love is not a shadow that dissolves in silence. Love is presence. Love is action. It is time for you to write the next line of your narrative. Reality has already been presented, and it awaits your decision.